Hello students, welcome back to my channel once again. So the today's topic is statistics. So this is the CBSE board grade 10 topic. Okay, so this is the first video I am going through. There will be many more videos on statistics that will be coming up soon. So let's take a look. What do we mean by statistics? And then we will also look into different type of problems, how to solve it. So this is the chapter number 14, statistic chapter that you will get from your NCERT book as well. So now coming to what do you mean by statistics? So in statistics, what do we take? That is a data. Data is the most important part in statistics, and we collect the data. That is the raw information. Okay. So we collect the data part. So collection is one important part. Collecting raw data part. Then after collecting the data, we have to present the data so that we can analyze what is this data. We can get a comparison between the data. Okay. So next comes your after collection of data, we have to present the data, that is the presentation part. Then comes your analysis part, and finally after analysis we can make a conclusion. Okay. Now if you take a look, it will be difficult for always to deal with the raw data part, because if suppose there are 40 students in a class and you want to calculate the height of each student, then making height, because each student will have different height, so it will be difficult to have the raw data of 40 students. So instead of that, what we can do, we can group the data. Like we can group in the term of a range, like 10 to 15 centimeter the height. If we take within that range, how many students will fall, so then it will be easier for us to represent. Otherwise taking 40 student height, it will be difficult. So that's why grouped distribution came. So now in group frequency distribution table, we have classes and frequency. So in the classes we have the class interval, right? And then in each class interval we have the frequency, means how many data are fitting within that class interval, that will be the number of frequency. Now if you take a look, classes are of two types. One is discontinuous classes and another one is continuous classes. So let's take an example of discontinuous classes. Like if we group the data like class interval 1 to 10, then 11 to 20. Here you can see that there is a gap between 10 and 11. So that's why it is a discontinuous class. Similarly, like 21 to 30. So that is also after 20 there is a gap. So that's why it is a discontinuous class. Now what is continuous classes? When there is no gap in the class interval. Like you can see in this example, like 0 to 20, then 10 to 20, 20 to 30. So there is no gap between the class interval, from one class interval to the next class interval. So that's why it is called continuous classes. To convert discontinuous to continuous classes, there are two steps. Okay. So first thing is that whenever we have discontinuous classes, we can't represent the data properly. So first thing we need to do is, whenever we find any discontinuous class interval, first thing we need to do is to convert it into a continuous class interval. So now we have to, I will show you that how to convert a discontinuous class to a continuous class. And there are some steps that we need to follow to convert it. The first step is find x. What is x? That is the difference between the consecutive lower and upper limit. That difference divided by 2. Okay, let's take, whenever we will take example, then it will be easier for you to understand what this means. The next step is subtract x that we find out in the previous steps from the lower limit and add x to the upper limit of every class in the given set of discontinuous classes. Okay, once we take a look, then it will be easier. So let me explain like difference between the consecutive lower and upper limit. So consecutive lower and upper means if you take the discontinuous class here in this example, so what is the difference between the, if we take the first interval, class interval, that what is the upper limit? The first class interval is 1 to 10. So 10 is the upper limit over here. And what is the next continuous next class interval? Consecutive class interval is 11 to 20. And what is the lower limit of it? That is 11. So what is the difference between the first class interval upper limit and second class interval lower limit? So second class interval lower limit is 11 and first class interval upper limit is 10. So if we take the difference, that is 11 minus 10, that is equal to 1. So we have to do 1 divided by 2, that is 0.5. So 0.5 will be the x in this case. Now what we need to do? Now we have to subtract x, that is 0.5, from the lower limit. So lower limit of each class interval. So in this case, if we take the first class interval 1 to 10, the lower limit is 1 over here. So we have to subtract 0.5 from 1. So that means in the first class interval, it will be 0.5. And we have to add 0.5, that is x, to upper limit of every class. So up in the first class interval, what is the upper limit? That is 10. So 10 plus 0.5, that will be 10.5. So what we did just now is convert the first class interval to a continuous one. If you take a look, the first class interval will be 0.5 to 10.5. In this way, next class interval will be 11 minus 0.5, that will be 10.5, and 20.5. So you can see that 0.5 to 10.5, then comes 10.5 to 20.5, then comes 20.5 to 30.5. So now it is now continuous. Okay. So now let's convert continuous class into discontinuous class into continuous. So now here again, whatever I explained, it is shown in animated way. So this is what we discussed already. So 1 minus 0.5, this will become 0.5. So always subtract that x from the lower limit and add x to the upper limit. So I hope this part is clear to you, how to convert it to a continuous class. Now we will learn to find the class mark or midpoint of a class. Now what is class mark? Class mark is lower limit plus upper limit divided by 2. I hope now you understand what is lower limit and upper limit means. Lower limit means any class interval, the first number that is written, that is the lower limit, and the next number that is written, that is the upper limit, right? So class mark is, we have to add lower limit plus upper limit divided by 2. So it is denoted as xi in the entire chapter. So we will always denote the class mark with xi. So I in here indicates that each row, whenever we will go ahead, each row that will be denoted as I. Okay. Now let's take a look at the table. So the class is given, class interval is given. Now let's take a look how we are going to convert it. How to find the class mark over here. So 1 to 10. So 1 to 10, the class mark will be 1 plus 10 by 2. That is, now in this way, 11 plus 20 by 2 and 21 plus 30 by 2. So this is the class mark. So we can just now converted each class interval to the class mark. Now similarly, if it is 0 to 10, now here take a look. The first whatever we did, that is a discontinuous class, because 1 to 10, then 11 to 20. So there is a gap, one gap between the next class interval. Now let us take a look for the next class interval. In this case, it is a continuous class, right? That is 0 to 10, 10 to 20, 20 to 30. Now same way we have to find the class interval, class mark, that is 0 plus 10 by 2, 5, 10 plus 20 by 2, that will be 15, and 20 plus 30 by 2, that will be 25. So class width, that is age, is found by subtracting two consecutive lower limits or two consecutive upper limits. So whenever we have to find the class width, okay, so for class width, how then that is the age, how it will be found? We have to either subtract two class interval lower limit, consecutive class interval lower limit, or consecutive class interval upper limit. Like if we take a look, then 10 minus 0 or 20 minus 0, in both ways you will get the same answer. In the discontinuous also, like 11 minus 1, that is 10, even 20 minus 10, that is also 10. So that is the class width. So class width age can also be found by subtracting two consecutive class. So there are two ways. One is either you subtract the lower limit of two consecutive class intervals or upper limit of two consecutive class. The other way is, once you find out the value of class marks, then if you subtract two consecutive class mark, then also we will get the class width. So if you take a look at the discontinuous class set, 15.5 minus 5.5, that is also 10. So in the whenever we subtract in the class lower limit, that we also got 10 over here. If we take a look at the continuous set, then 15 minus 5, that is also 10. So in this case, the class width is 10. Also, if we add class width age to one class mark, we get the next class mark. So there is another way to find the class mark. That is, if you find out the age value, that is the class width, then once you keep on adding the class width to the class mark, we will get the consecutive class mark. Both way it is correct. Now coming to the measurement of central tendency of data. So there are three way to measurement the data, central tendency of data. One is mean, then median, and mode. So in mean, there are three different ways we can find the mean. One is direct method, second one is assumed mean method, and third one is step deviation method. We will learn each topic in detail, and also we will solve some problems to understand this topic. Now let's solve the mean using direct method. Now some steps are given over here. Now in the first step, first we need to find the class width. Then we already have the class interval. So if we know the class interval and frequency, then from the class interval we can find the class mark. Already I told you how to find the class mark. Okay, again when we will start solving the problems, again we will discuss how to solve the class mark. And then we have the frequency, that is Fi. Fi denotes for, like, Xi is the class mark for each row, and similarly frequency Fi is the frequency for each row. Then finally what we need to do, we have to multiply Fi Xi. So we have to multiply each class interval, whatever be the class mark, and we need to multiply with the frequency. So in this way, we have to fill the in each and every row. Then finally, we have to get the total frequency just by adding all the frequencies together, frequency from the frequency column. And similarly, we have to also that summations, that whatever that e type of symbol is given, that is called the summation symbol. Okay, so the summation of fi means adding all the fi's. Similarly, summation of fi xi, that is add of all the fi xi. So in this case also we need to add all the fi xi value from that column. Then the next step will be the mean, that is we also represent it is as x bar. So that is equal to summation of fi xi, whatever we got in the first step, divided by summation of fi. So this will be the mean value to find out. So now let's solve some problem, then you will understand how to get the mean using that steps. So the first question is, a survey was conducted by a group of students as a part of their environment awareness program, in which they collected the following data regarding the number of plants in 20 houses in a locality. Find the mean number of plants per house. Okay, so here the frequency distribution table is given. The number of plants class, that is the class interval, is given, and the number of houses, that is the frequency, is given. Which method did you use for finding the mean and why? Okay, so here we need to find the mean and we have to tell which method we are going to use, because there are three methods I already told you. But in this case, which method we have used over here and why we are using this method, we have to explain that. So now let's take a look at the solution, how we are going to solve this problem. Okay, now in this case, what we need to find? We have to find the mean of the number of plants per house. Okay, so now let's make the table. Class interval, class mark, that is xi, frequency, that is fi, and fi xi. And finally, we need to write the total. Okay, now what we need to do? We have to, whatever is given in the question, the number of plants, so that will go in the class interval. So class interval means always the, whenever you find anything dash, that means that will be the class interval. Within the two numbers, if you find dash, that means that will be the class interval. Now number of houses is the frequency, so we will all fill the numbers in the frequency column. Now we need to find the xi. So we know the formula for finding the xi, that is lower limit plus upper limit by 2. So in this case 0 plus 2 by 2. Now what is the class width? Because I told you that there are two ways to find the class mark, that is xi. One is like adding lower limit plus upper limit by 2, and another one is once we get the first class mark, then we can also add class width to it to get the next class mark. So now in this case, what is the class width? Class width is found, that is the h is found by subtracting two consecutive lower limits or two consecutive upper limits. So now here let's take the lower limit. So class width will be 2 minus 0, that is equal to 2. So just if now, since we know the class width, so it's better to just now add the class width to the previous class mark. So 1 plus 2 will be 3 now. Then 3 plus 2 will be 5. This is a quicker method. You can also do that lower limit plus upper limit by 2. Then 7 plus 2 is 9, 9 plus 2 is 11, and 11 plus 2 is 30. Now, to find the fi/xi, what we need to do? We need to just multiply the x class mark with the frequency for each row, and we have to put that value. So 1, then comes 6, then comes 5, then comes 35, then we have 54, then we have 22, and finally 39. Now what we need to do? We have to now find the summation of Fi, that is the addition of all the sum of all the frequencies. So if we add all the Fi, then we will get 20. Now also we need to find the summation of Fi Xi. So we have to add all the numbers in the Fi Xi column. So we get 162. Now what will be the mean? Mean, that is the X bar, will be summation of Fi Xi divided by summation of Fi. So now put the value 162 divided by 20. So which is coming 8.1. So here mean, in the question it is given that mean number of plants. So it will be mean equal to 8.1 plants. Now since there is another thing they have asked in the question, that which method we have applied over here and why. So here we need to tell that we used the direct method, because the values, why we have used direct method. Direct method is used normally when we have the Fi and Xi values are small. In that case we normally use the direct method. Okay, later we will see that whenever we have a bigger number, then Xi Fi will be bigger, then we have to use the other methods to find the mean. Now coming to the next problem. 30 women were examined in a hospital by a doctor, and the number of heartbeats per minute were recorded and summarized as follows. Find the mean heartbeats per minute for these women, choosing a suitable method. Okay, so we have to find the mean over here. What is the number of heartbeats per minute? That is the class interval, and number of women is the frequency over here. Okay, now what we need to find over here? The mean heartbeats per minute. So let's draw the table. So class interval, then we have class mark Xi, then we have frequency Fi and Fi Xi. Now put the class interval, that is the number of heartbeats per minute. Then we need to find, also we need to now put the frequency from the table given. Then we need to find the class mark. So class mark is lower limit plus upper limit by 2, that is 65 plus 68 by 2. Now first we need to find out the class width, because that will be the quicker way to get the next class mark. So class width H is found by subtracting 2 consecutive lower limits or 2 consecutive upper limits. So let's subtract 68 minus 65. So that will be 3. Now just keep on adding 3 to the consecutive class mark. So you will get this, all the values over here. So we got all the class marks here. Now what to find the Fi Xi? We need to multiply Xi with Fi for each row. So we keep on multiplying over here. So now next step will be to find the summation of Fi. So we have to add all Fi's. Okay. So now we got summation of Fi. Then next step is to find the summation of Fi Xi. That means we have to add all Fi Xi. So this is the summation of Fi Xi value. Now mean, that is X bar, will be equal to summation of Fi Xi divided by summation of Fi. So now we put the values. So finally we got the mean as 75.9. So the answer will be, so whenever we find the mean, after mean value we found out, we have to check the question what is they are asking. So mean will be here, in this case it is 75.9 heartbeats per minute. So that you need to write down. Okay, just don't write mean equal to 75.9. You have to write whatever they are asking in the question as well. So that is heartbeats per minute. Now if you take a look here, what is the method we used over here? That is the direct method. Okay. So if they are asking which method we use over here, then we should have written the direct method we have used. Okay, now coming to the next problem. The following table gives the literacy rate in percentage of 35 cities. Find the mean literacy rate. So literacy rate in percentage is given. That will be the class interval, and number of cities is given. That will be the frequency. So now in this case, what do we need to find? The mean literacy rate. So let's make the table. Then we will mark the class interval, class mark, frequency, and FIXI. Now put the class interval and frequency. Then first we need to find the class mark, that is lower limit plus upper limit by 2. So in this case it is 50. Now we have to find the class width, that is h. So class width is found by subtracting 2 consecutive lower limits or 2 consecutive upper limits. So 55 minus 45 we have to subtract. So we got, that is 10. Now you keep on adding 10 to the subsequent class mark, and then we will get the next xi. So 50 plus 10, 60, then in this way we fill the class. Now we need to find FIXI. That means we have to multiply xi with the fi. So in this way we will multiply and we will get the value. Now at the end we have to do summation of fi and the summation of FIXI. So summation of fi means adding all fi's, and similarly summation of FIXI means adding all FIXI. Then the mean, that is x bar, will be equal to summation of FIXI divided by summation of fi. So now do the division. So we will get 69.43. So as the final answer, since this is the literacy rate, so it is given in percentage. So we will write that mean equal to 69.43%. Now let's take a look at the next problem. To find out the concentration of SO2 in the air, that is in parts per million or ppm, the data was collected for 30 localities in a certain city and is presented below. Okay, so per concentration of SO2 in ppm is given. That is going to be the class interval. And in certain city, what is the concentration? That is given in the frequency. Okay, so now what we need to find out over here? We need to find the mean concentration of SO2 in the air. So now what we need to find? We have to find the mean concentration. So let's make the table. So which method should we use? So we will going to use over here the direct method. So direct method, as I already told you, that is normally used for shorter, like small values. Now write the class interval, frequency, then class mark. So you can write class mark in the second column also, that will not be a problem. And then that FIXI. Now just copy all the class intervals from the question and all the frequency from the question. Now first we need to find the xi, that is upper limit plus lower limit plus upper limit by 2. So 0.00 plus 0.04 by 2. Next step is we need to find the class width, that is 8. So to find the class width, we have to subtract 2 consecutive lower limits or 2 consecutive upper limits. So now 0.04 minus 0.00. So the class width will be, h will be equal to 0.04. Now we keep on adding the class width to each class mark, then we will get the next class mark. So in this way, if we add, we are getting all the class marks. Now we need to find out FIXI. So that means we have to multiply with 4 with 0.02. In this way, subsequently, we have to multiply. So now let's fill this table. At the end now, we need to find the summation of fi. So means adding all the fi. And then finally summation of fi xi means we have to add all the fi xi value. So now by direct method, we know that mean equal to x bar equal to summation of fi xi divided by summation of fi. Now put the value over here, 2.96 by 30. So if you remove the decimal point, it will become 296 by 30. And also since we are removing the decimal, it will be 296 by 30 into 100. So now if you just divide it, you will get the approximate mean value as 0.099 ppm. That is the parts per million. Now coming to the next problem. The following distribution shows the daily pocket allowance of children of a locality. The mean pocket allowance is rupees 18. Find the missing frequency f. Okay, so in this case, the mean is given, and if you take a look at this table, there is one frequency that is missing. Okay, that is represented as f. So we need to find the value of that missing frequency. So the daily pocket allowance is given and the number of children is also given. So daily pocket allowance will now be the class interval, and now number of the children will be the frequency over here. So now what we need to find, that missing frequency, right? F. So for finding f, mean is given as 18. So we should use a direct method to solve this problem. So let's make the table: class interval, frequency, then class mark, and finally FIXI. So just copy the class interval from the question and the frequency from the question. Now what will be the class mark? The first class mark will be lower limit plus upper limit by 2. Now we need to find the class width. So class width h is found by subtracting 2 consecutive lower limits or 2 consecutive upper limits. So 13 minus 2, that is 2 over here. Now just keep on adding 2 with each class mark, you will get the next class mark. Okay. Now to find FIXI, we need to just multiply with f with the x, that is the frequency with the class mark. Now finally we need to do the summation of fi, that is the adding all the fi's. So in this case, since one f is missing, so it will be in the variable form. So 44 plus 5 f. Then summation of FIXI, adding all the FIXI. Here also it is in the variable form. So it is forming an equation type of. So like it is not a constant. So now what we need to do over here to find the value of f, by use the direct mean method. So x bar will be equal to summation of FIXI by summation of FI. But here mean is given. We don't need to find that because we can't find, because from there we have to find the value of f. So 18 equal to, now put the value 572 plus 20f by 44 plus f. Now just multiply with the cross multiplication. So 18 into 44 plus f is 792 plus 18f. That is equal to 752 plus 20f. Now just switch the position of the variable. So if you subtract 20f minus, if you do 20f minus 18f, that will become 2f, and 792 minus 52 will come over this side, so that is equal to 40. So f is coming 20. So that is the missing frequency. Now let's take a look at the another problem. The mean of the following frequency distribution is 62.8 and the sum of all frequencies is 50. Compute the missing frequency F1 and F2. In this case, there are two frequency missing. So this type of question will consist of 3 marks question in your exam paper. So now the class interval is given and the frequency is also given. So but now there are two missing frequencies, that is F1 and F2. So what are given over here? That class interval we know. So we'll just put the class interval in the table. Then frequency is also given. Frequency table we will just fill as it is given in the question. Now to find the class mark, first we need to calculate the class width. So class width is two subsequent class interval. Either we have to take lower limit and then subtract it, or upper limit and then subtract it. So here 20 minus 0 is 20. And to find the class mark, what is the formula? That is the lower limit plus upper limit by 2. So that is 0 plus 20 by 2. So that is coming 10. Now if you have to keep on subsequently adding the class width, that is h. So we're just filling the values over here. Next we need to find out the fi xi. So you have to just multiply over here class mark with the frequency. So in this way we are filling. Okay, then finally we need to find the summation of fi. We have to add everything. So it is coming 30 plus f1 plus f2. Then we have to do summation of fi xi. First we will add the constant term and then we will keep the 30 f1 and 70 f2. So we know that in direct method mean is x bar is equal to summation of fi xi divided by summation of fi. Now summation of fi xi we already got, that is 2060 plus 30 f1 plus 70 f2, and summation of fi is equal to 30 plus f1 plus f2. Now in the question the mean is given, so that is x bar is 62.8, that is equal to, now the entire equation will come over here. So now we are going to solve this. Now another information is given over here, that sum of all frequencies. So that is the summation of fi. So that means 30 plus f1 plus f2 is given, that is equal to 50. So f1 plus f2 will be equal to 50 minus 30, that is equal to 20. Now if we replace any one value, that is f1 or f2, in terms of other one. So basically here we are going to solve the linear equation using the substitution method. So f2 is equal to 20 minus f1. Now put this f2 value in the equation given. So now in 30 plus f1 plus f70 f2, we just replace the value of f2 with the f1. Okay. Now just calculate it. So it will be 1400 minus 70 f1 divided by, so in the denominator f1 and f1 will be cancelled out. So we are getting 50 over here. So now do the cross multiplication. So it is coming 3460 minus 50 f1. So now find the value of, 3460 minus 40 f1. Then find the value. Solve it. So 40 f1 equal to 320. So f1 will be 320 by 40. So that is equal to 8. So since we got the f1 value, f2 we know that f2 equal to 20 minus f1 that we got earlier already. So we'll just put that value. So f2 equal to 12 over here. So the missing frequencies are 8 and 12 respectively. So that's all for today. So we have completed the first part of the statistics chapter. So if you have understood it, if you like my video, then please just hit the like button. Okay. And if you have any query, you can put that in the comment section. I will try to reply as soon as possible. Okay. And if you have any particular question, if you are having doubt or you are not able to solve, you can write down the question and I will try to come up with a separate video for that with the explanation. Okay. And please do share with your friends. Okay. So that they can also learn from my videos. And to get the future videos, because there will be many more videos that will be coming up for the statistic chapter. This is only the part 1. There will be many more parts that will be coming soon. So for that, what we need to do, you just need to subscribe, otherwise we will not get the notification for the future videos. Okay, so just press the bell icon and you will get the notification for the future videos that will be coming up. Okay, that's all for today. Thanks. Bye bye.